Last night, Blake Lively broke her silence regarding the Justin Baldoni drama, appearing on Late Night with Seth Meyers.
And there's actually video footage of her pointing like this.
Blake Lively is spiraling after Seth Meyers accidentally pulled the mask off her carefully curated act.
Yeah, now I'm afraid to know too much about star signs, but yeah.
It's really hard to watch her now, I can't lie. It is really hard to watch her be this fake person.
Beneath the designer gowns and over-rehearsed smiles is a woman weaponizing motherhood and media spin to dodge accountability. She's not a victim. She's the blueprint of elite privilege hiding behind fake empowerment.
What I can say without going too into it is that this year has been full of the highest highs and the lowest lows of my life, and I see so many women around afraid to speak, especially right now, afraid to share their experiences, and fear is by design. It's what keeps us silent.
Let's talk about what actually went down on Late Night with Seth Meyers in April 2025, aka the most awkward, overproduced, manipulative PR stunt we've seen in years. Because nothing screams relatable woman of the people like showing up in a giant white wedding gown that looked like it was stolen from a royal closet and then switching into an entirely different outfit just for the walkout.
She seems to be on this tour that's painting herself as a hero for all women. And it's pretty frustrating how Seth and just Hollywood in general seems to be accepting it.
She walked in like it was the Met Gala, not an interview. The dress couldn't even fit in Seth's chair. She was literally drowning in fabric. It was so big, it needed its own segment.
But right out the gate, there's just a level of awkwardness because, yeah, the dress doesn't fit his small chairs.
There are certain guests where I'm like, I really should just go back to a suit for tonight. This is a fantastic outfit.
Wear your wedding gown look?
And for what? To convince us she's going through the highest highs and lowest lows of her life. That's how she framed it. Classic victim monologue, rehearsed and polished with just enough shaky voice to sound human. But here's what makes that even more deliciously ironic. This tell-all moment aired days after Blake got subpoenaed by Justin Baldoni's legal team.
But you can't believe everything you hear, you know? And, that's what it's feeling like because there's more evidence and stuff that's painting the picture that Blake Lively's not being honest. And also, what are you afraid of? And what did he actually do?
She's been legally forced to hand over texts, emails, all her little behind-the-scenes messages about "it ends with us." And instead of addressing that head-on, she's twirling on Late Night in chiffon and fake humility.
And of course, she spoke to Seth Meyers beforehand on how they could, they had to mention something about everything that's been going on. And she said on his show that she couldn't talk that much about it.
And let's not forget the icing on this disaster cake. Outlets like Daily Mail and Page Six had already posted glowing puff pieces about the interview before it even aired. That's not media coverage. That's a planted press rollout. You don't need to be a Hollywood insider to smell the desperation. Blake's team is working overtime, stuffing headlines into the algorithm like a high schooler cramming an essay at 3 a.m. She's basically running a full-blown distraction campaign disguised as a press tour.
But I also acknowledge that many people don't have the opportunity to speak, so I do feel fortunate that I've been able to.
I don't know what to say. I feel like right now, the people that are most upset with Blake Lively.
Speaking of distractions, let's talk about her and Ryan's full-court paparazzi press. These two are suddenly everywhere. Red carpets, talk shows, casually signing autographs in staged street candids. It's not PR anymore. It's a public saturation assault.
Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, they're everywhere. We cannot open any website with any entertainment news without seeing them wearing something different in every photo, in every occasion, and posing in front of the paparazzi, signing autographs.
Their faces are showing up more than ads for sugar-free gum. And it's no accident. The plan is simple. Blind the public with smiles and couture until we forget about the lawsuit. Gaslight the timeline, serve a look, and hope no one notices your career is on legal life support.
Smiling, being happy, and feeling popular, it's exhausting. So this is what they're trying to do right now.
And you know what the media does in response? They dissect her wardrobe like it's national security. People magazine ran 2 whole articles about her outfits. Yes, two. One talked about her white gown, the same one she couldn't even sit down in, with details about the plunging neckline, layered ruffles, and bedazzled open-toe heels.
And of course, she arrived in style in a white gown or dress. White is the color of innocence. I don't think that was a coincidence. I don't think anything with Blake Lively right now is a coincidence.
Like we couldn't see it with our own eyes. Then came the second outfit breakdown. Hair half up, half down, soft curls, multicolored drop earrings. Groundbreaking. Meanwhile, not a single mention of her actual legal drama. You know, the one involving actual subpoenas and actual accusations.
They're trying to overwhelm us with appearances. So all that negativity that they received will be pushed down in Google and on social media, because now it's all about them looking pretty, looking in love.
And let's not skip the most narcissistic move yet. Outside Blake and Ryan's fancy New York apartment, someone, gee, I wonder who, arranged for a poster of Another Simple Favor to be right across the street. So every time Blake opens the curtains, she gets to see her name printed larger than Anna Kendrick's. That's not a billboard, that's a shrine. She built herself a monument to vanity.
A lot more in the movie. She's carrying the movie. So Blake isn't even in it that much. But yeah.
And the kicker? The movie dropped on Amazon, and viewers revolted so hard that IMDb had to remove reviews. Yes, remove. People were giving it 1-star ratings in protest, and the backlash wasn't just loud, it was loud enough for Amazon to allegedly delay the audience rating display.
Please stop. Seattle Times is saying the plot is a mess and the runtime is overlong. The Guardian says Another Simple Favor drops threads and drags on, but survives on its self-assured baseline pleasures.
Let me guess what Blake did next. Put on another dress and ignored it. But critics didn't. The Washington Post slapped it with a 1-star rating. Seattle Times called the plot a mess. Globe and Mail just begged, please stop. This isn't a comeback. It's a carefully choreographed breakdown in heels.
To know what's going on. The clips I've seen, it just reminds me that Blake Lively is not a great actress, and apparently Anna Kendrick is a lot more in the movie.
Now, let's talk about the Seth Meyers interview, aka the softest softball game since T-ball. Seth dodged every single real question like he was playing dodgeball with lawsuits. Did he ask about the allegations? Nope. Did he press about the subpoena? Of course not. What did they talk about for 5 straight minutes? Ice.
The whole thing is just starts awkward out the gate, and shows just so admits to how controlling this couple actually is.
Emily is a changed woman in this movie. She drinks martinis with ice.
That's very exciting.
Which is a big deal.
That is a big deal.
If you saw the first one, you'd understand why she has beef with ice.
Yes, I was like, yeah.
Do you in life have beef with ice?
No, I love ice.
Yeah.
As in literal frozen water. Seth asked if her character in the movie had beef with ice. Then he asked if she had beef with ice. And then Blake, trying to be all quirky and charming, started singing a Frozen song like she was auditioning for kindergarten karaoke night. We are making ice! Ma'am, you are being sued. Why are you singing?
I like ice too.
in my milk.
I think the first time we got an ice machine in a refrigerator.
Anyway, they go on a whole monologue about ice. Blake Lively starts quoting and singing from Frozen, and it even quotes our honest trailer. We are making ice. We did that in our honest trailer. I was proud of that song.
Then Seth pulls the classic, I'm not fully informed on this case line. Translation. I know everything, but I don't want to get sued or lose access to celebrity guests. And Blake? She used that moment to steer the convo into her sob story about her kids. Because when in doubt, play the motherhood card. She said her daughters are her lifeline, and that she has to be Disneyland every day for them. First of all, Blake, you're not Cinderella. Second, you've been bouncing from red carpet to gala to TV set. When exactly are you doing all this Disneyland-level mothering?
It is nice though, because they're honestly, I mean, it's no surprise I've had like a pretty intense year, and like they're just my lifeline. Like no matter what day I'm having, I have to be Disneyland every day for them, and so it's.
They're my lifeline, and then she turned it. You hear how she did that? It's been she sets it up so it's clearly open for now. Seth can bring it in.
And let's not forget the whisper. As the interview ended, Blake leaned over to Seth and thanked him multiple times. Not just thanks for having me. No, it was a desperate string of thank you, thank you, thank you. Like she was grateful he didn't ambush her with a single real question. It was like watching a student thank a teacher for giving them an easy exam. Completely exposes how rehearsed and calculated this whole PR stunt really was.
They're my lifeline. Oh, they've taken me away. And there's one where you're like, oh, it's so sweet. You can go be with your kids because they don't read all the news and they'll love you. They're unconditional, etc. But then she's like, it's like I have to pretend to go into Disneyland every day. Oh, it's such a chore for me. It is so hard. It is so hard for me, people. Oh, will you please give me more empathy? Because it's so hard being Blake Lively right now, having to go to my nannies and everybody and all these trips where clearly my kids aren't here.
Look, this wasn't an interview. It was a damage control campaign with commercial breaks. Blake showed up in a gown big enough to have its own zip code, refused to answer real questions, changed into a second designer outfit mid-show, and fed us lines about her hard year while actively dodging the legal mess she created. It's not bravery, it's branding.
The whole thing is just starts awkward out the gate and shows just admits to how controlling this couple actually is.
Emily is a changed woman in this movie. She drinks martinis with ice.
That's very exciting.
Which is a big deal.
That is a big deal.
If you saw the first one, you'd understand why it's a big deal.
The Princess Act is officially falling apart. One scripted interview, one forced Frozen quote, and one one-star review at a time. And just when you thought Blake Lively's act couldn't get any more hollow, here she comes marching in, draped in a blinding white gown, declaring herself the voice for all women afraid to speak.
And it's the women who have had the ability to use their voice that's kept me strong and you know, helped me in my belief in my fight for the world to be safer for women and girls. It's a pretty simple thing, but you know, nothing. Thank you. It's true.
Oh, how noble. Except, hold up. What exactly did she speak up about? What groundbreaking, soul-shattering revelations did she offer the world? He smelled her hair. He said she smelled good. He walked into her trailer after she invited him. And then, brace yourself, he kissed her. After she bit his lip.
And I think for all, like I said, for all real victims out there, just watching her sitting up there in her little princess dress, talking about victims, by the way. Someone sent me this video today. I had heard about this incident, that it happened, but I hadn't seen any video proof of it yet. But here it actually is.
That's not a survivor's testimony. That's a poorly written fan fiction from Tumblr circa 2012. You'd think with all the media training and glam squads in the world, she could at least come up with an allegation that didn't read like a deleted scene from Twilight.
When you think about all these things that she has accused him of, and then she comes on national television to talk about how she's the voice of all these women out there.
And let's not ignore the actual survivors here. The real women who've lived through domestic violence, harassment, and systemic abuse. They're not buying this charade. In fact, they've taken to every social media platform imaginable to call her out. And honestly, they have every right to be furious.
That's the Seth side of it. From the Blake side, this idea that she's now being silenced, that she's the voice for all women, that infuriates me. The fact that she's now trying to become the poster child for standing up. Standing up to what? You had all the control in that set.
Blake turned their pain into a costume. She wrapped it in couture, accessorized it with tears, and strutted it out on stage like it was a red carpet look. There's nothing empowering about weaponizing fake victimhood for clout, especially not when you're leveraging it to smother someone else's career without evidence.
I don't know what to say. I feel like right now, the people that are most upset with Blake Lively are the real victims that have actually survived domestic violence and other forms of abuse, and then they watch her sitting there being their voice.
But wait, it gets better. She chose white for her Seth Meyers appearance because nothing says innocent like a $12,000 custom-made guilt-free ball gown. Blake didn't just want to talk about how she's misunderstood. She wanted to look misunderstood. She wanted to telegraph purity while delivering PR-polished sob lines. It's symbolic manipulation 101. Her entire visual presence screamed, Don't question me. I'm fragile.
And from these appearances, they're telling me anything. You're not suffering any actual like work damages. Working just fine for you. People are still asking for your autograph, showing up at premieres. You're just forcing it down our throat. We're seeing it everywhere. So,
Meanwhile, she's steamrolling reputations and monopolizing media cycles like a corporate CEO in heels. And don't even get me started on that Time 100 gala speech. Blake stood up in front of the elite and tearfully referenced her mother's near-death experience, claiming she was nearly killed by a coworker.
She, as you know, spoke about her mother and her experience being almost killed by a coworker, that a lot of people now are speculating if that coworker was actually a woman, and Blake never said it was a man, so that might be, which is also one thing that I talked about it before, but I mean...
A lot of people initially assumed it was a man, given the whole empowerment narrative she's been force-feeding us. But twist, turns out it might have been a woman. So now, we're rewriting traumatic family history to fit a script? Are we just casually dropping shock value stories to stay relevant? It completely undercuts the gendered victimhood she's trying to profit from.
That's kept me strong and you know, helped me in my belief in my fight for the world to be safer for women and girls. It's a pretty simple thing, but you know, nothing... Thank you. It's true.
1 minute she's standing up for women. The next, she's muddying the waters with a vague horror story that does nothing but draw attention to herself. Classic Blake. All drama, zero clarity.
And I think for all, like I said, for all real victims out there, just watching her sitting up there in her little princess dress, talking about victims, by the way.
Now, while she was busy performing moral sainthood, Ryan Reynolds was out here being his usual fame-addicted self. Because nothing says, my wife is in legal turmoil, like hopping on stage at Green Day's Walk of Fame ceremony and hijacking the mic. Yes, Ryan flew to LA, uninvited by the honorees, and gave a speech longer than Green Day themselves. His connection to the band? He used one of their songs in Deadpool vs. Wolverine. That's it. That's the entire link. And he still took center stage like he just got knighted by Billy Joe Armstrong. But the real danger here? It's not the bad acting or the wardrobe stunts. It's the fact that these two have created a climate of fear in Hollywood. Journalists, actual credentialed reporters, have told Popcorn Planet's Andy Signore that they refuse to touch this story.
To share their experiences, and fear is by design. It's what keeps us silent. But
fear is from you. Everyone is terrified of you and Ryan. They are terrified. More on that in a second, but
Why? Because Blake and Ryan are too litigious. That's the word they used. Not complicated, not controversial. Litigious. That's code for, if you say the wrong thing, their lawyers will have you sleeping in a courtroom bench before sunrise. And it's not just the press. Streaming platforms backed out of a documentary the second they found out it wasn't going to paint Blake as a misunderstood goddess. Imagine that. Actual corporations, too, scared to fund a story, unless it's wrapped in Blake-approved bubble wrap. That's not influence. That's a chokehold. The grip these two have over the entertainment industry is so tight, even late-night hosts like Seth Meyers are playing safe and smiling through it, like hostages with cue cards.
this is, a late-night comedy show. But he's making it clear at the gate, like, I don't know all the details. But I don't know all the details. Just, hello, audience, I don't know all the details. But
I'm thrilled you're not doing Weekend Update right now, because you would be quite informed. So it's good, yeah.
And don't think for a second this is just about PR. There are real consequences for the people Blake decides to throw under the bus. Justin Baldoni, the man she's been accusing publicly and privately, has basically disappeared. His agency dropped him. He hasn't been seen in public since.
hard to see what you're really suffering through. Because if anybody's suffering, it's clearly the guy who's now lost his agency, his jobs, isn't out there doing anything. That's the one who's clearly losing things based on your ridiculous accusations.
This isn't a petty spat or a Hollywood breakup. It's someone's livelihood being destroyed in real time. And Blake's camp? They're not interested in resolving anything. They're painting every critic as misogynistic, uninformed, or not supporting women. That's their playbook. Disagree with Blake, and suddenly you're anti-woman. Raise an eyebrow at her claims, and now you're part of the problem. They're not answering questions. They're controlling the narrative. They're not addressing facts. They're weaponizing identity politics and public sympathy to silence every opposing voice. And it's working, because too many people are too afraid to say what's obvious. This entire circus is built on ego, fear, and one giant designer-draped lie.
Yeah. There's something with birthdays.
Okay.
She's the funniest person in the world, but she will definitely like rule the world with authoritarian leadership.
Well, that's something to look forward to.
I wonder where she got that from. I wonder where she got that from. She will rule the world with authoritarian, you heard her, leadership.
So here we are. One half of Hollywood's most overhyped couple is draping herself in victimhood, while the other is freeloading off punk rock milestones and stealing mics like an open mic night addict. The power they wield is scary. The silence they demand is scarier. And the worst part, they're still playing it like they're the ones under attack.
Like I said, for all real victims out there, just watching her sitting up there in her little princess dress, talking about victims, by the way.
Page 6. Yes, the tabloid mouthpiece for celebrity spin magically leaked Blake Lively's quotes before the interview even aired. You don't need a PhD in media studies to connect those dots. That wasn't a leak. That was a scheduled press drop. Her team practically sent out press kits in advance, loaded with approved language and cue card talking points. Because if there's one thing Blake Lively fears more than accountability, it's losing control of the narrative. Even Seth, who, let's be honest, played along like a well-fed chihuahua, teased the audience with the line, "We wanted to say more, but we gave you crushed ice instead." Crushed ice. Not even a full cube. Translation? We dodged the real conversation and spoon-fed you fluff. And they didn't even try to hide it. He said it. They knew this was all window dressing, an emotional escape room, $5 empathy with a side of frozen quotes.
Everyone seems to have a problem with you. Do you have a problem with ice? Would have been funny.
Really,
I really like ice too. I think the first time we got an ice machine in a refrigerator.
Anyway, they go on a whole monologue about ice. Blake Lively starts quoting and singing from Frozen, and it even quotes our honest trailer, "We are making ice."
Let's also talk about the room. The perfectly timed laughs, the robotic clapping, the absence of even one tough question. This wasn't an interview. It was a hostage situation with lighting. Seth's job was to smile, nod, and sell the illusion that Blake Lively was being brave, while she was really just executing a pre-rehearsed monologue and flipping the script from accused manipulator to empowered woman. They gave her the stage, the spotlight, and a big shiny applause sign, and still, she needed more.
She's so happy that she has this voice. And the worst part was that the audience was really applauding her. Can you imagine being Justin Baldoni and seeing something like that?
And it's the women who have had the ability to use their voice.
How do we know? Because as she left the stage, thinking no one could hear her, Blake leaned in, bowed her head like she was at the Pope's altar, and whispered to Seth, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Not once, not twice, but 5 times.
Watch this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Did you catch that at the end? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. For real, thank you so much. Thank you for not screwing me over and making this worse for me.
Count it. 5 desperate, grateful, breathy thank yous. That's not gratitude. That's relief. That's thank you for not ruining the performance energy. That's someone who knows she's teetering on the edge and just barely pulled off the illusion.
Were I to ask you about it?
The reality is, he is. The beginning of his show, A Closer Look, he talks about all sorts of entertainment stories, everything. Of course he knows. He's just saying that, Blake, to get away with being nice to you. Is how I see that, which is very telling.
But guess what? The internet didn't buy it. The second that interview aired, the gloves came off. And the backlash hit like a freight train. IMDb had to literally remove public reviews for another simple favor, because a tidal wave of 1-star ratings crashed the system. Viewers weren't reviewing the movie. They were protesting Blake. They hijacked the ratings section like a digital riot and set up camp until someone yanked the plug.
It was not funny or engaging is the reality. Even taking away the drama, it was a very mediocre, bland talk show appearance. And the drama clearly makes it more interesting. There's a curiosity factor, etc. And Seth is definitely doing her the solid of playing softball.
And can you blame them? Because while Blake was crying on cue and singing Frozen, people were remembering the actual accusations she made, like Baldoni offering her gin in a trailer scene, and comparing that to, you know, real abuse. She positioned herself next to survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and harassment. All because someone said she smelled good and kissed her after a mutually charged moment. That's not courage, that's cosplay. And people were disgusted. The hashtags came flying. Boycott Blake. Another simple failure. Twitter, TikTok, Reddit. Pick a platform. It was a total roast fest. And not just from trolls. We're talking legitimate entertainment columnists calling her out of touch, overexposed, and a curated PR puppet. She's become the walking definition of Hollywood inauthenticity. And the public's finally treating her that way. And then came the low blow. She used her kids. She dragged her daughters into the mess with quotes like, "I have to be Disneyland every day for them, and they're my lifeline." Suddenly, she's the single mom in a Hallmark movie. All this while jet-setting, outfit hopping, and press touring like she doesn't own a calendar. The audience saw straight through it. You don't get to weaponize motherhood to duck accountability. You don't get to cry victim and then prop up your children as emotional armor. People are not buying it, Sal, and frankly, they're sick of it.
It started based on bringing up her daughters.
Your daughters ever criticize your outfits?
Oh, yeah. No, one of my daughters has the same birthday as Napoleon and Jennifer Lawrence. So if you imagine like those two blended.
Is that how it works? Is that how birthdays work? You blend?
I think so. I don't know. I don't know.
Which brings us here, to the full-blown unraveling of Blake Lively's fairy tale brand. This isn't a comeback. This is a public meltdown wrapped in a designer gown. From Seth Meyers to red carpets, every appearance now reads like a cry for help, disguised as a glam shoot. She's not rising from the ashes, she's burying herself under a pile of tone-deaf interviews, staged applause, and PR overkill.
And Seth is definitely doing her the solid of playing softball, is what he's doing here. So plenty of people are gonna be annoyed by him, but he's doing his job. This is what he does. He's getting ratings. He needs ratings.
You can change outfits mid-interview, Blake. You can cry into couture and hand out pre-written quotes. But the cracks are showing. And not just to us, to everyone. What was once America's stylish sweetheart now feels like a hollow performance. The voice shakes, the lines feel prepped, and the whole act is held together with Instagram captions and publicists who are probably drinking in shifts. And as if Blake wasn't crumbling enough under the weight of her own delusion, Ryan is still out there making things worse. Because what better time to pull focus than in the middle of your wife's legal hurricane? Whether he's speech crashing or Deadpool pandering, his whole shtick now just adds fuel to the fire. It's no longer cute or funny. It's desperate. It's giving, "I'm not reading the room," and the room is done playing along. Hollywood may still be afraid of these two. Journalists might be dodging lawsuits. Studios might be caving to contracts. But the public, we're not scared, we're not silenced, and we're definitely not impressed by crushed ice interviews, pageant gowns, or fake feminism. No amount of controlled lighting or applause buttons is going to unring this bell. The empire of Blake is cracking. And this time, no one's rushing in with a glam squad and a new narrative to save her. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts below. We're just getting started.